Hello, Nova Nation, and welcome to this week's edition of Wildcat Watch Live. I'm Willie Annan.
I'm Matt McCarthy.
I'm Anthony Padua.
And I'm Bryn Garrity.
We have a lot in store for you today after this past week here at Villanova. This weekend was homecoming weekend, which is really exciting because many alums came back on campus, and there was a lot of buzz on this campus as well, including the packed stands at the game. In addition to it being homecoming weekend, it was also the kickoff to the basketball season. On Friday, the students packed the pavilion for Hoops Mania, and as usual, it was a high energy and definitely loud crowd, and Drake was on point.
He was amazing.
I still haven't got my hearing back.
Drake was definitely a treat for us. We haven't really had that big name person, and I feel like it really got us pumped up for not only Hoops Mania but homecoming the next day.
You can feel the difference on campus after that.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you guys, but it was the best Hoops Mania experience I ever had.
Yeah.
On Saturday, there was also the blue and white scrimmage where the basketball team splits in half and scrimmages themselves. It was really exciting to see how the team looks for this year. I personally was impressed by Ty Johnson, the freshman.
Ty definitely had a really good stroke, and he showed that he consistently can hit the three-point shot, something we've been missing ever since Scotty left for the D-League. I feel like if he can keep it up, not only Freshman of the Year awards, but we could really make a run at the title.
Speaking of Scotty leaving, we finally got something we haven't had since Scotty leaving. That's a dominant leader. I don't know about you guys, but I was more than impressed with Malik Wayne's performance. I mean, if he plays like how he did in the scrimmage games in the regular season, sky's the limit for us.
Absolutely.
Not only Wayne's, but Muftai Yaru. I think he's really going to emerge as a leader and keep improving over this year. He's got some really good stuff going on. I think he can be just as good as Wayne's.
Basketball and football were not the only sports that were going on this past week. The men's soccer team and women's field hockey played games as well. Now let's send it over to Bryn with volleyball and swimming highlights.
Thanks, Willie. The women's volleyball team played UConn this past Friday night, defeating the Huskies 3-1. It was a really impressive game for the Wildcats, with junior Morgan Petkovich recording a double-double of 11 kills and 16 digs. Junior Krista Anderson and senior Maggie Mergen notched 17 and 11 kills respectively. Mergen also had 4 blocks. Senior Kim Maroon collected a match-high 39 digs, while freshman Allie DiBernardo dished out 45 assists. Sophomore Allison Williams recorded 9 kills and 4 blocks, while classmate Carly Edwards connected on 5 kills with no errors. The women had a tough time yesterday, however, against St. John's, which resulted in a 3-0 loss for the Wildcats. However, they still posted some pretty good stats. Maggie Mergen connected on 18 kills, Morgan Petkovich recorded 7 kills and 8 digs and 5 blocks. Allie DiBernardo dished out 17 assists. Senior Courtney Ertley gave out 10. Kim Maroon collected 15 digs. Hopefully the girls will get out of this rut that they seem to have gotten themselves in, and next game will be a win. Now on to swimming, who put up a really impressive performance against LaSalle on Friday afternoon in a season opener for both teams. 8 different individual winners, including 4 double winners, helped the Wildcats win 12 of the 16 events contested in the meet. The quartet of junior swimmers and Haley Edwards, Laura McLaughlin, Leanne Patterson, and Roxy Tamaj all won 2 individual events. The afternoon started out on an exciting note, with Villanova winning the 400-yard medley relay. The winning time for the Wildcats was 3 minutes and 57.29 seconds. Junior Laura McLaughlin was the lone triple winner for Villanova, swimming on the victorious relay and also sweeping the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke races. She was the only Wildcat entry in the 100 breast and touched the wall on 1 minute and 7.05 seconds to win by 0.8 of a second. In the 200 breast, she finished first with a time of 2 minutes 25.84 seconds. Villanova should once again be strong in this season in all of the freestyle events, with wins for the team in the 100, 200, 500, and 1,000 free events. Patterson was also a double winner for the Wildcats in the 100 and 200 fly. She started with a win in the 200 fly, in which her winning time of 2 minutes 7 seconds beat the runner-up from LaSalle by more than 5 seconds. In the 100 fly, she was the only competitor out of 6 entries to break 1 minute with a time of 59.55 seconds. Congrats to the swim team for a fantastic start to the season. Now let's go to Anthony for soccer and field hockey.
Thanks, Bryn. Going into their battle against the nationally ranked number 12 St. John's Red Storm this past Wednesday, our men's soccer team had their backs against the wall. In their 2 previous games, although highly contested, our men left with an L both days, and faced a third one with the oncoming storm. However, like any member of the Nova Nation, our Cats were able to endure the storm with sheer persistence and a relentless will. On a coincidental stormy afternoon, our Wildcats would get an early lead at the 2-minute mark thanks to a header from junior Kyle McCarthy that was tipped in by junior Kyle Soroka. However, Soroka was not done going to work just yet, as sophomore Dylan Renna, who also scored earlier in the game to give the Cats a 2-0 lead, would go on to send a ball to Soroka at the 51st minute mark, who would head it for the final score of the day, cementing a Nova victory with a score of 3-1. All around, it was an overall great performance from the Cats, on both offense and defense, and especially from senior goalkeeper John Fogarty, who made 8 saves on a day where the Red Storm would own a 19-7 edge in shots. Riding high on the thrill of victory, our Cats left the humble Wildcat Cove to travel south to face yet another Big East rival, the number 8 ranked USF Bulls, this past Saturday in Tampa, Florida. In a similar fashion to their previous game against St. John's, the Cats came out roaring early. At the 18th minute, freshman Oscar Umar's corner kick was sent to senior Kevin Garcia, who took the ball and then sent a shot into the goal past USF's keeper Chris Blaze to grab an early 1-0 lead for the Cats. Villanova would keep the lead going into the half. However, coming out of the half, the Bulls came out with a stampede. In an almost deja vu scenario, another goal was scored off a pass from a corner kick. However, this time, the goal was made by USF. The Bulls' Ben Sweat sent the ball to Dom Dwyer, who would elevate and head the ball into the net to tie the game at 1 apiece a little over the 50th minute. As both teams battled back and forth for the decisive game-winning goal, it would be the Bulls edging the Wildcats on this day at the 17th minute. USF's Brendan Griffiths picked up his second goal of the season that is, and would end and get the game winner for the Bulls. Splitting a pair of games against 2 top 10 teams is nothing to mull about, Cats, so great job on the effort. Now for some news in women's soccer. In a disappointing way to end the 2011 season, our women's soccer team would unfortunately drop a devastating loss to Big East rival Georgetown this past Friday in the nation's capital. Early goals from Georgetown set the tone for the day, as the Hoyas would go on to rough up our Cats with a 6-0 victory. In fact, 2 of the goals were scored in the opening 6 minutes of the contest. Despite what the score might say, our Cats never gave up though. Even with the heavy deficit looming over them, our girls kept the pressure up. The whole game, no matter what. Unfortunately, they were never able to capitalize on any of the shots for their score. This game marked the final collegiate games for Villanova seniors Katie Ryan, Aaron Ryan, Lauren McCoy, Katie Nagy, and Megan Verdure. Ladies, your presence and leadership on the team was truly indescribable. And on behalf of Wildcat Watch Live, we'd all like to thank you for all your 4 years of hard work, commitment, and most of all, going to battle for the Nova Nation on the soccer field. In some field hockey news, Villanova would not only see the Hoyas on the soccer field this past Friday, though, as our field hockey team would also face Georgetown in a critical Big East matchup in Washington. Big East play always fires up our Cats, and sure enough, this seemed to be the case on the field. Freshman Lauren Wilson would strike first blood for the Cats, as she would score on an assist from freshman Jessica Swadoba at the 14th minute. Jackson capitalized on the Hoyas goalie leaving the net, as she easily put it past her for the first goal of the day. This goal, of course, gave the Cats a 1-0 lead, a lead that would not be relinquished that day, especially when the Wildcats put the nail in the coffin with the goal at the 56th minute from junior Amy Jackson. The Nova junior would score on a breakaway after the Georgetown goalie yet again left the net to try to cut off Jackson at an angle, but Jackson would put the ball past the foolish Hoya for an easy score. With this victory, our Wildcats are now in a great spot to head to the Big East tournament for the first time since 2006, resting at 3rd place in the conference with a 3-2 victory. Now, for some news in men's tennis and football, I'm going to send it over to Matt.
Thanks, Anthony. The men's tennis team ended their fall season in a dramatic, overall impressive win in Hampton, Connecticut at the Quinnipiac Invitational. In their final tournament of the fall season, sophomore Ryan Payton and freshman Michael Rosengren took the Flight B doubles title. Payton and Rosengren swept all 3 of their matches that day and took home the championship with relative ease. Individually, Peyton was one of 3 Wildcats to advance to the semifinals in the singles portion of the Invitational. Peyton won the first set of the semifinal match against Emilio Terran of Boston University, but unfortunately would fall in the next 2 sets, overall losing the semifinal match. Freshman Kelly Donaldson advanced to the semifinals of the Flight C singles tournament with a straight set win in both of his first 2-round matchups. He eventually lost in the semifinal match in straight sets after a dominant performance in the first 2 rounds. The other Wildcat to advance to the semifinals was junior Andrew Alden, who advanced in the Flight D singles bracket. The Wildcats as a whole turned in an impressive performance at Quinnipiac, going 10-10 in singles play and 9-3 in doubles play. The fall season was a successful one for the Wildcats, as they combined to go 37-26 in singles play and 16-10 in doubles play. Great job, guys. In other news, everyone knows that the buzz on campus was that it was homecoming weekend for the Wildcats, where they came home after a 2-week road trip to face Old Dominion, the Fighting Monarchs. This was Villanova's 4th straight matchup against a ranked opponent in the CAA. The momentum of the game went early to the Monarchs when they were able to capitalize quickly on 2 straight possessions in the first quarter. The Wildcats were able to hang in there and score in the first quarter on a pass from Dustin Thomas to sophomore receiver Joe Price, 6-yard score quickly. The Monarchs, however, were able to answer right back, converting on a Jared Brown field goal to take the lead 16-7. After that point, the Wildcats looked like they'd get right back in it. But on that next drive, they fumbled on their own 2-yard line, giving Old Dominion a really short field to work with. And after Old Dominion capitalized on a 1-yard touchdown run by their quarterback, it looked like the Wildcats were out of it. The Old Dominion took the lead 23-7 at that point and would never relinquish more than a double-digit lead. The game ended 37-14 in favor of Old Dominion. Dustin Thomas turned in an overall pretty good performance, going 10 of 17 for 82 yards with a touchdown to Price that I mentioned. Freshman quarterback Chris Poloni also turned in a good performance, coming in at halftime to relieve Thomas of his duties. He finished the game with a team-high 52 rushing yards on just 5 carries. It's a great average. Wide receiver Joe Price led the Wildcats with 4 receptions for 34 yards and that critical 6-yard touchdown pass from Dustin Thomas. He came back after missing 4 games due to injury. With Dustin Thomas and Joe Price back, I look for the Wildcats to look good in their upcoming games. Now let's go to Willie to look at what all of the Wildcats have to do in this next week.
Thank you, Matt. And now for what's happening this week here at the Nova Nation. With the winding down of the seasons, many teams have already finished, like golf and women's soccer. But for the teams that are still out kicking, here's a look at the week ahead. The men's soccer team has their final 2 games of this season. Both of these are key Big East matchups. First, on Wednesday, the men head up to Syracuse, New York to face the Orange. Then on Saturday, the men face the Louisville Cardinals. Syracuse is currently 7th in the Red Division, and Louisville is 6th in the Red Division. Meanwhile, Villanova is 4th. The top 6 teams in each division advance to the Big East Conference Championships, so winning at least one of these 2 games should cement a spot in the tourney for Nova. The women's field hockey team has 2 games this week. They face a pair of New York teams. First, Syracuse travels down to Nova on the 28th for a 4 o'clock game. Then the women head up to Columbia for their final regular season game. The women have already secured a spot in the Big East tourney, so look for them to try to gain better positioning in these 2 games.